We are live. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you guys doing? It's Saturday, it's around 6 o'clock. And as promised, we are here to talk about all things nursing, training, life in general. Oh my goodness, there's a lot we could be talking about. And as you guys know, there's been a lot of heartbreaking news happening. And I know I talked about resilience previously in my series, in my the power of series. But I think it is so important as we wind down the Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May. I think it's also Older American Month or something. You know, there's a month for everything. Cat Day, Dog Day. So, last week, I think this week, I did a short video for um, my regular channel that I usually talk about a topic on Wednesday. We call it the Wednesday Chat. And I talked about having a collective kumbaya moment, right? Because there is just so much heartache and uh, violence, and how do we process this barrage? Hi, whoever joined in, thank you so much. And of course, introducing myself, I'm Maggie. I'm a advanced practice nurse, and I did psychiatry for a while. I'm a gerontologist and really concerned about life in general. How are we managing this crazy life? And of course, this channel is nurse training and advocacy, where I am determined to provide some training material. Now that I have more time, let me tell you, my first topic is, how am I doing? Of course, I refer to the tragedy that just happened, that continues to happen in our communities, and the nightmare, the I don't even know how to put it in words. When I think of these little 7, 8, 10-year olds being barricaded with a madman with a rifle, and the whole thing would just make your mind explode. And to know that, to hear that the husband of one of these teachers, who were bravely probably trying to shield their children from the bullets, having died of a heart attack himself. A lot of people say he died of a broken heart, but it's just like some news are so aggravating and upsetting that it upsets your whole cardiovascular system. And if you already had some risk factors, like diabetes, hypertension, it can happen. It can happen. And we just don't even know how these families are processing all this. So even though it didn't happen to us, we just know that it could happen to us. So, the saying goes, there by the grace of God go I. That means none of us can be guaranteed that it won't happen to us. So, how does a person develop what I call resilience to deal with the constant trauma, pain, anger, injustice? I have to go back to our history as Black people who've been brought to this country, our ancestors, and how they survive, how we are able to still be here. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here, right? So they had resilience, and that's what we want to talk about today. So again, I'm Maggie, nurse training and advocacy. I put those videos on YouTube, and if you could please just join and become a subscriber, that would be great. If not, I just like to share, regardless of what happens in the social media realm. I am not an influencer by any chance, by any stretch of the imagination. So, my retirement update. How is it going? I am loving not having to get up early. I am loving being able to wake up at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, in the morning. I am loving the dog letting me sleep in. When I was working, she would start moving and yapping at about 6:37. I had to get up and get her out even on weekends. She's not saying a word. She doesn't even make any noise now, so I'm able to sleep in. So I'm very grateful for that. I am still working on my plan. I have some things. I'll be doing some traveling starting in the fall, and I'll take you along with me. I don't know which channel, Nurse in the Kitchen. I'll be looking at food wherever I go. So make sure you check the channel, Maggie Lazar, or you could go to YouTube, A Nurse in the Kitchen, and Nurse Training and Advocacy. I've only kept two channels on YouTube. So I'm working on my vision board. I have a lot of things that I need to do. I have a lot of places I'd like to visit. I was doing my list the other day and it gets longer and longer. And I think, like I said, I explained last week, retirement for me doesn't mean sitting down. It means I have choices. It means making some conscious decision. Hey, Nancy. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see you. I saw that incision. It's long, but it looks good. I know you're going to be a model patient. I know it. Love you. You're one of my favorite people in the world, and you know that. You have a lot of people who tell you the same thing. So I'm making my list of places I want to visit. I have to get things situated here. I am an empty nester, as you know, and I don't have kids pulling on my skirt, so I'm free to do as I please. I'm just a little bit heavy hearted with everything that's happening. But those of you who know me know that I'm a risk taker. I have done a lot of things in these last 30, 35 years of my professional career, and I don't think I see this just stopping. It's just to change. But my biggest challenge is the discipline. I am the most, no, not the most, but very undisciplined in terms of staying on task, working out every day. Many days I stayed the whole day in my pajamas. And then I'm like, okay, Maggie, what did you accomplish today? Not much, not much. But I think mostly I enjoy the freedom. I enjoy the freedom of not having to be somewhere at a certain time. And I have to make myself get out of the house to get some vitamin D because it's like there's a sun out there. Go sit out outside. I sit on my laptop and I watch a lot of documentaries, and there is so much knowledge out there. And I'm a curious person. I like to learn. I don't like to sit and think that I know it all. God knows I don't. So I want to talk about resilience today. Resilience in life and how you apply it to work. I think those of us who are nurses definitely have a certain amount of that skill embedded in us, right? So, how do I define resilience? I define it as the ability to stand, to withstand, challenges, trauma, um, difficulties. And I think those of us who have been through so much and are still standing, sometimes you see somebody going through so many things and you're like, how can they go through so much and are still smiling and still standing? I believe that resilience has a lot to do with your genetic makeup in addition to environmental influences, so to speak, right? Personally, I don't feel that any skills that anybody has is totally genetic, right? Because you may be born with certain traits, but you can, along the way, either emphasize some traits or you can kind of try to curtail some of it. Because let's say you are someone who is easily rattled and gets angry, right? That you could probably say, well, that's the way I was born. But is that going to get you somewhere? No, because in life, we have to learn to control our emotions, right? So you don't want to escalate that. You want to kind of tone that down. So I is like leadership qualities, kindness, all these things we may have a certain amount of genetic predisposition, I believe, right? I'm not a scientist, but I've lived long enough to have observed certain things. So you could be born with certain abilities, certain traits, but I feel that the environment that you grew up in, the experiences that life throws at you can act as a way to emphasize those skills and capabilities. I think one of the best qualities of any human being is the capacity to go deep within, to be introspective. And I'm serious, because if you're going through life just you're floating around, I don't feel that that makes you a solid, grounded individual. And you may not agree, which is fine. This is my opinion, my observation. So if you don't take stock of what's happening, you don't invest in understanding who you are and how you are wired. That's why I'm a big proponent of those personality um, assessment, so to speak. Not that you're going to believe it 100%, but it does give you like an aha moment into, oh, okay, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me. And when we have our kids getting ready, let's see, it's almost May, right? They're going to be, well, it is May. They're going to be graduating and making choices in terms of career and college and um, you know how they're going to what they're going to learn in school. I think it's so important for them to take one of those assessment tests that's going to tell them, this is who you are, this is what you're most comfortable with, this is how you roll. That way you don't put yourself in a career path that you are not comfortable with, so you're going to spend a whole lifetime in a career that you are not genetically, you know, predisposed to enjoy and to excel in. For example, I know somebody who is such an introvert, right? So, and I think I gave that example before. So, if you're such an introvert, you would do well as a scientist, right? Somebody who developed things online. But you may want to, you say, I want to be a public speaker. It's not that it's impossible. It's just that it's going to take you a lot more work. There is nothing wrong with choosing something that you're not comfortable with. You just need to realize, oh, I think I'm going to have to work a little bit harder at that. And that's perfectly fine. So, to go back to resilience, I feel that some of us are a little bit strong by nature, some of us are not. That does not mean you cannot develop what you need to be resilient. Okay, so that's the definition. So being resilient, being able to withstand a lot of things. Let's back up a little bit. Once you find out who you are and you invest in developing the skills that you feel you need to do whatever you need to do, that investment is going to help you not only in life but in your career, because there is no barrier between life and work, because people work, so it's fluid, right? It crosses over. So if you invest in developing certain skills, certain traits, if you learn from certain experiences and you say, I think I'm a stronger person having gone through this, I think I'm a bit wiser having experienced this, And that's why when you see someone in their 50s and 60s and 70s, and their mindset is that of a 20, 25-year old, you kind of scratching your head saying, what happened here? Because as clinicians, we know what we call developmental skills, right? So if you were to look through a pediatrics book, you would see that at age 10, we expect you to have mastered those skills. When you see a kid who is 3 years old, we expect that kid to be potty trained, because those are things that have been studied, and it sees that at different age points you expect certain skill to develop. So when you see a 60, 50, 60-year old acting, having that mindset and thinking like a 20-year old, you just wondering what happened. Chances are that person has not invested in themselves, has not realized where they have some weaknesses, and have not learned from the different experiences, challenges that life has thrown at them. Hopefully, you're not one of those people, because it makes it's really sad to not learn from experiences, because I believe those experiences are thrown at you to groom you into a stronger, more mature, more stable human being. Okay? So in life, certain points I took the time to write it down. And of course I write it down. I didn't use my phone. Hey, I'm a baby boomer, okay? I don't generalize everything. I still have lists. I love lists, okay? Because I love the idea of just crossing. It's like, check, I did that. Oh, that makes me feel good when I feel that. And that's why I think as a supervisor, I was good, because I love my lists. If I need to do it, I'm going to write it down. And before my shift ends, I want to make sure I review my list. And that's what I teach in my nursing supervision class. It's like, there is no shame in having lists. It keeps you organized, okay? As I said, there is a nurse, I think she's developed what do they call that? We have all these apps. She developed an app for nurses in long term care to keep them organized. I haven't checked it out. I promised myself I would. I haven't. But I think it would be good for those millennials and Gen Xers, people who are into their computers all the time, but I'm not. So, I mean, I'm on my laptop doing other things besides I take apps off. They take too much space on my phone, so I don't do that. So, number one for me, in terms of one way or one of many ways you can develop resilience, we already talked about what it is. It's the ability to be strong, right? Develop a positive attitude. It sounds easy, but it's not, it doesn't come naturally to some people. Remember, I made the comment that certain people, you don't want to ask them, how you doing? Because they're going to tell you, oh, the sky's falling. This one did that. It's like, don't. Once you ask them once, you know not to ask them again, because they're going to tell you. Anyway, I was going to talk about this person that I know. Every time she calls me, she goes over the same thing, the same rant, the same complaint. And being a very impatient human being, it costs me. It costs me to sit there and listen. I want to throw the phone away. I want to push that end button, but I try to be calm and polite, but it doesn't come easy. That's something I have to work on myself. My tendency to be impatient. I am impatient by nature. If you got something to say to me, tell me in the first 30 seconds, because after that, my mind shifts. That's just the way I am. So I have to work on that. Maintaining a positive attitude is not easy. Some people naturally gravitates toward the gloom and doom. The world's falling, people who used to tell us the end of the world was coming in 20 whatever, Y2K. I was alive. I remember Y2K. Oh my God, the panic. Some people, it takes them effort to see the good in people, to see the good in any situation. I happen to be one of those people. I don't think it's so much positivity as it is, let's take care of it. I'm kind of a, okay, one, two, three. I do my assessment quickly and then I look at my options and then boom, I can make a decision. Not many people can. I know someone who needs to know all the infinite details and the what ifs, 100 what ifs, and you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, when is she going to make a decision? That drives me crazy. I have a lot of pet peeves and a lot of things that I need to work on. That's the way my mind works. So you have to make yourself, when you look at the situation and say, okay, what is good about that? Now, the nightmare we just lived through in terms of the gun violence, there is no positive, right? That's a given. But if you look at a work situation, for example, let's say your business got sold to another company, like this happened to me. I was working for a company, beautiful people, company culture was, oh my God. I still talk about that company. That was my first home care job. It was owned by a private family. They treated everybody nice. We had year-end bonuses and we had parties, and they wrote the book on how to run a successful company and building culture. And then it got sold. And then we were like, oh my God, we felt like orphans. And we were orphans, right? So, what was good about it? I found that the good was for these owners to have recouped their investment. The bad thing was for those of us who were left. When I sold my home care company, what was good about it? Well, I got some money out of it, but the bad was that my beautiful staff were treated like crap. And that broke my heart. So each situation has positive and negative. So you have to be able to decipher what's good and take from it what you can, because a lot of things are going to be out of your control. So when I teach the class, with when you look at um, staffing shortages, poor company culture that's happening a lot in our long-term care facilities, you try to take the good. For me, the good are my staff, the patients. You do what you do for those people, not because you treated the way you deserve to be treated. And I know a lot of us, including you, Miss Nancy, we are in jobs because of the love of people. It's usually not because of what we get out of it. Yes, we get a salary. Yes, we have benefits. But because we're such people oriented and, we just want the whole thing to be nice and tight, but it's not. It's not. So, how do you develop positive attitude? Introspection, taking time to analyze. If you're floating around and you just reactive, you make decision, boom, you don't make decision, you just react. That is not a good thing. And if you like that, you need to kind of step back and work on yourself. Okay? And some specific simple steps you could do, but it takes thinking through things. Focus on the positive. Learn to let go. Again, a lot of situations are out of our control. I'm thinking of the gun violence issue. I personally cannot do anything about it, even though it pains me. The people we elect who can make the decisions have opted not to. And that grieves a lot of us, because to me, doing nothing should not be an option. It should not be an option, but that's what we see. So, as much as it grieves me, but I realize I'm powerless up to a point. I can use my vote. Maybe I can write a letter. There is a lot we can do. Now, in terms of the nursing shortage, I know that a lot of us are talking to our companies, But as I explained before, sometimes the people that we have on site don't have any power to make changes because things are sent to them from corporate somewhere, right? So I always say don't blame your administrator, your ED, and your DON all the time because a lot of time they are powerless. They're just given mandates and they're asked to deliver, right? So learn what you can control and then let go of what you can't because that takes away a load off of you and you can use the energy that you have to focus on those areas that you can, like nurturing your employees, like a certain person watching is really good at encouraging people, touching your patients. For me, it's the patients. For me, it's the employees, right? Because I feel like if I can share some of my positivity, it will rub off of them, on them. And my patients, I feel like taking 2 minutes to touch someone, touch their hands, give a smile, look in their eyes, being present is so important, so valuable. So focus on the positive, let go of what you can't control. Yes, you could still advocate, you could still have meetings, you could still let your need make your needs known, but at the end of the day the decision is not yours, and accept that if you can, right? um Find and look for joy in small things. I think pretty good at it because I don't have a need for fancy anything, whether it's clothing, home, car, vacation. I can find joy in the smallest thing. Sitting on my patio watching the dog run around brings me joy. The rain brings me joy. Listening to my favorite artist on the radio gives me joy. Reading about, like, I just watched a documentary about Mumbai in India and the whole culture and how things work there. There is so much we don't know because we can't go to all these places, but there is so much we can learn about. Yeah, you can travel to those places too. That's icing on the cake. But small things, take a staycation, go on a 1 day trip, go visit someone, go into like adult daycare and volunteering with those people. The other day I went uh, to Habitat and we were building homes for three single ladies with little kids. That feeds me. So find joy in small things. And in your workplace, there are so many opportunities. Like I used to do cooking stuff. Wherever I go, I'm always cooking. So I used to do monthly, what did we call them? Um, when everybody brings, the word escapes me now. But just inviting other people, the security people, the laundry people, the kitchen staff, and having them partake. As a cook, that's the thing that gives me joy when I feed people. Okay. Hi, Caroline. Caroline, it's nice to see you. That brings me joy. So it feeds my soul as I'm dealing with all the rest of the stuff. So I focus on the good things that I can bring joy to other people. If it feeds you, do it. If you get feedback from people that it feeds them, do it to the best of your ability. And I like to do that. I think I'm good at it. Number two is develop courage. Okay. What is courage? Is this the same as resilience? I don't think so. I think resilience is the ability to stand. Courage is the ability to make tough decisions when you need to. Okay. Sometimes I feel I'm too practical, and some people see that as being heartless. I'm just very, I'm kind of a left brain. It's like, let's look at the situation. One, two, three, boom. And again, because I'm impatient by nature, if somebody's not like that, it kind of sometimes rattles me. And I feel like, not I feel, I know that I constantly have to work on myself and say, slow down, Maggie. Not everybody is, you know, processes information and makes decision like you do. You have to allow people time to process so they can come to their own decision. I may I may kind of go off and leave them to process, and because, if it needs to be done, I'm going to do it. While you processing, I'm already on number 2 or 3. Uh, that's the way I am, unfortunately. So finding courage, I would think in life, for example, you may have to end a marriage, right? If you're in an abusive marriage, for example, it takes guts to get out, because you could be paralyzed by fear and say, oh, he's going to kill me. He's going to kill my children. How am I going to survive? And those are the things that keep people, I don't want to say women alone, but usually in abusive relationship. And I'm not being a psychologist, psychiatrist right there, but these are things that are known. If you talk to any person who's been abused, it's just the other person holds you hostage and has made you believe that you cannot function without them. Okay, that's an example. So for you to say, okay, if you're someone like me, process, examine, make a plan, work your plan. That's the way my mind works, but not everybody is able to think like that. Okay. So to find the courage to get out is tremendous. To be in a relationship and be able to leave, to be in a job that drains you emotionally, that just stresses you out, where your heart is, accelerating when you go in, and your everything is tight because you're so stressed. To take the step to leave takes courage, right? So in life, we have to groom our kids to develop those skills. And again, that's what I mean by your environment, the way the kid was raised, your home environment. All these things are going to groom you to develop some skills that are going to be important for you in life. Once you're an adult, then you can take inventory again and decide, oh, I need to work on this, I need to work on that, I need to let go of this. That's why I am a little bit um unsympathetic with people who constantly say, well, that's just the way I am. Oh, that's just the way I was raised. You cannot be a 40-year-old person and you have certain notions about other people, and then you hide behind, well, that's what my granddaddy did. That's how I was raised. Cop out. Because you need to be at a certain time be able to be responsible for your own action. Okay? The world doesn't owe you anything, and you can't hide behind your grandparents and your great, 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 great grand. No. All right. Finding courage in work, let's say in our nursing space, the courage to speak to a supervisor. Hi, Soleil. Oh, I miss you, darling. You're so beautiful. And I'm so happy you're doing so well at work. So proud. I'm a proud mama. I know I didn't birth you, but I'm still proud. um, at work, finding the courage to speak to a supervisor who's treating you badly. It takes courage. It takes courage. And knowing how to approach someone who is unkind, mean, um, who plays favorite. We see that at work all the time. Some person always gets time off. They have the best schedule, and this other person, I miss you too. Aw. To how do you take the step to go to that person? Finding the right words, the right approach to tell that person, and of course, that's another thing I teach. You have to know how to approach someone. You always start with the positive before you go straight for the kill, right? You would say, you know what? I really am so, for example, let's just do a little role play. Let's say you have a manager like that who plays favorite, who gives you the worst assignment, who is not kind to you because of all the different reasons that we could, you know, talk about. How do you talk to that person? I'm a big proponent of talking to people. I don't believe in putting things under the rug and not addressing it. That's just not me. And I'm not in your face like some people say, but I'm going to address it. I'm not going to let you go on disrespecting me or being unkind to other people. No, it's like a bully. I always tell my kids when they were growing up, I say, and that was before bullying was this whole thing now, dangerous stuff with mean kids, with mean parents. I used to tell them, I say, if a kid starts to bully you, you fight. I say, you fight. Because a bully will continue bullying you until you stand up to him. It might beat you up, but if you stand up to the bully, it will leave you alone. So I say, you fight, then you call me. Then I'll go to the school. If I don't let my kids be bullied, this is so dangerous. Look what happened to this little 8-year-old. Kids hanging themselves. Oh my God. I was a kid too. I remember enjoying school, hanging out with my friends. The worst we did was try to smoke and, do a little thing here and there. But kids nowadays, oh my God, it is a product of our society. Today I was going to post something that really breaks me because I'm watching our community just fragment. People can't have conversation online. It's like boom, boom, boom. Even somebody makes a simple statement, somebody comes at him right away with like something egregious that is violent. I don't know where this is going. I don't know where this is going, and it scares me to death. Because let me tell you, just a little segue. When I was in Rwanda last year, and I was going through that um, genocide memorial. If you ever go to Rwanda, you have to make a stop. But I have to warn you, it is so disturbing. And when I read a lot about the history, how the genocide happened, it said that the genocide didn't happen all of a sudden the next day they started shooting and killing each other. Mm-mm. It was a program that was years in the making, started with insinuation and calling each other names, just making statement that this one is stealing job, that one is doing this, and it just built and built and built. And it took one event, and then boom, the order was given, and they went systematically. It was like these people had become, robots, and they had no soul, they had no feeling, they were killing their neighbors. And I'm thinking, how do you take a machete to a little kid? But what we need to understand is that men has that seed right deep in. And it's not hard to throw water at it and groom it. And this is what I'm worried about in our country, what's happening right now. This inability for people to talk to each other and just vilifying, and it's going to build and build, and this is not a good thing. I think we should all take stock of that and take steps to do what we can. But anyway, I digress. Going back to developing resilience. So if you're going to talk to a supervisor, a manager who is unkind, you have to learn how to approach that person, and you have to know how to craft your speech. And you want to start with the positive, thanking them for the opportunity, how much you love working there, how much you're learning, right? And then kindly, you don't ever want to go talk to someone, a superior or a peer, when you're in the throes of anger. No. Just like you don't punish your kids when you're mad, you don't talk to your supervisor when you're mad. Okay? So, and then, like I said, even when as a supervisor, when you're trying to counsel an employee, when you have this CNA come look in your face and say, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to go. Learning to keep your cool is a skill you have to master, because you, in your head, you're thinking of a few choice words, but they should never leave your lips, right? So you have to learn the courage to address the behavior, because to me, if I let it go, what is she going to do next time? You can't. So build yourself in terms of courage. Learn how to do that. Step back. Learn how to be tempered, and don't make any decision when you're angry in the heat of the moment. Got to calm yourself down, right? How do you forgive and let go? Well, if I'm talking of building resilience to be strong, let's say somebody hurt you. You didn't deserve it. You didn't do anything to deserve it, right? So I could be so angry that this thing is eating me up, eating me up. Do you know what I always say? Sometimes you're so upset with someone, you just rummaging this thing inside and it's eating you up. And the other person, they're happy living their life. Sometimes they don't even know that they have hurt you or wronged you. So if you don't address it, you're not going to find peace, and you're not going to clarify the situation with the person to say, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I didn't even know I had hurt you. Okay. That's why you have to be open and then forgive. If you read about forgiveness, you're going to read that when you forgive, you do it for you, not for the person. Because when you forgive, you release that person from what they did to you. And then you're releasing yourself from feeling pain and anger and disappointment. That's why forgiveness is good. That's why it's healthy. It's not for them, it's for you. So when you learn to forgive, you're building resilience. And I always say, don't be surprised when somebody does something wrong to you. And I think it sounds easy, but you learn from experience. If I expect, I don't go around every day saying, oh, I know she's going to do this. No. But when it happens and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't think she would do that. You acknowledge the hurt, but you have to find a way to let it go. And then so the next time someone does something to you, it becomes a little bit easier to forgive. Let me tell you, when I was a teenager, I was the most unforgiving person on earth. If somebody did something to me, I carried that resentment like a badge of honor. Yeah, she wronged me. I didn't deserve that. Oh, woe is me. I went on. And let me tell you, it went on and on and on. I don't now remember when I made the turn to say, you know what? It is what it is. That's what you want to believe. Go ahead. But I don't believe I went to that person and clarified the situation. That's what I learned now, to just do that. It kind of releases the whole thing. And if you can come back together, you can. You don't have to. You don't have to. So develop courage. Courage and resilience have this in common: your ability to get up after failure, after you've lost a job, after you've been fired, after you've gone through a divorce. And I think I'm going to write an ebook about that. How do you find your voice after you've gone through a divorce? Some people are so intertwined with their partner, they kind of run the show. You don't know how to do anything. We have these little patients that when the husband leaves, they don't even know how to access their bank account because they were never involved. Oh, I took care of the house and he took care of the bills. Now, how smart is that in today's age? that you don't know how to access your bank account. You don't know what your retirement benefits are. You don't know if you have stocks. You don't. Come on. This is not the 1920s. So, the ability to get up after a perceived failure. After I close my cafe, I think to this day, that was the most, not even my divorce was that painful. I'm so, sorry to say. But after I lost my cafe, that was a momentous failure. That's the way I looked at it. I was so hurt. I was so sad. I sat in that chair on my kitchen table and I could not get up. I was paralyzed with grief. That was the worst thing. Well, not the worst thing, but the thing that I failed at the most. And I tell my daughter, I said, I had never failed at anything up to then because I was very outgoing, go getter, did a lot of things, with the Chamber of Commerce, first woman president, doing all kinds of things, going to school and excelling. Yeah, but that was like a push. You are not all that. You've experienced failure. And I believe experiencing failure is a good thing. You may not believe me now, but when you look back, you're going to think, you're going to hopefully learn from that. And once you found your courage to get up, brush yourself off and say, okay, life, what's next? Oh my God, this is such a beautiful thing. That is a sign of resilience. The ability to get up after failing and say, okay, let me go. What am I going to do next? Which is what I did. After I closed the cafe, I sat on my little booty for 4 months. I didn't do a thing. I was nursing my wounds. I was sad. I cried. I ate. Okay? But then again, I was like, okay, pity party's over. What do we do? Where do you go next? And I went back to school, became a nurse practitioner. Okay, you cannot allow a failure to define you. You got to find something in you to say, okay, what's next? Because, I always say, once you get out of one catastrophe, the next one is right around the corner. So if you think that this was the last one, who told you that? No, it's not. There's something worse waiting for you. So if you don't groom yourself, you don't pick yourself up, you don't build courage and resilience, how are you going to survive the next one? Think about that. And failure, catastrophe comes in all shapes and sizes. It's not just work. It could be health, could be divorce, could be children. Oh my God. You have to find a way. You have to prepare yourself. You have to say, I'm going to have to hang in there. This is not going to break me. Okay? Learn to forgive. We talked about that. Set goals. Okay? Once you finish from the failure, you got to say, okay, what's next? And then once you find your next thing, then start writing it out. What do I need to do? Where do I want to go? And how do I get there? Boom, boom, boom. Introspection. Talk to yourself. And then do what you need to do to get yourself in the best physical and mental shape possible. Working out, eating right, listening to the right stuff. Don't feed yourself a diet of bad news, listening to Fox News and CNN and all the ends. You got to control. You got to control what goes in here. It's all up to you. It's all up to you. Invest in yourself. Go back to school. Get more training. Get more certification. I talk about positioning a lot when I train. You need to put yourself in the best position to be more marketable. Okay? Don't ever let a job hold you by the throat thinking that they got you where they need you to be because you need them, you need this job so much. Don't do it. Once you give them the upper hand, when they feel like they're the only one who's going to hire you, you need them, you can't do anything without them, they got you. But if you're multi skilled, if you have other skills beside what you're doing today, invest in expanding your skill base. Then, when you're doing your strategizing, you could say, okay, if I don't get it over here, then I can go there. Always give yourself options. Okay. And if you're a new nurse, Miss Soleil, always thinking ahead. Where am I going to be in a year? What am I going to do in 5 years? Set goals. Don't ever be happy with today. Mm-mm. You've already accomplished so much, and I'm so proud. But don't stop there. Keep growing. Keep going. You know, we have a lot of graduations these days. Like I trained a nurse practitioner as before I left my job for her to take my position, and she was telling me she was a CNA, and I'm just so excited. I get so proud. She was a CNA, became an LPN, got her RN, and now she's a nurse practitioner. And then she wants to go for a DNP. Oh my God! I celebrate those things. These are people who have strived. They just kind of they brush themselves off. And you think in the last 20, 25 years she didn't have challenges? Of course she did. Of course she did. But she had the mindset to achieve, and that's how she achieved. All right. So if you guys have any questions, please make sure you put them in the chat. So set goals, invest in yourself, and self-care. I talk about that all the time, right? Taking care of yourself, work out, don't ignore things that may be going wrong in your body, even though I myself don't like to go do all these screening things. But if something is wrong, something wrong, I always like to do that. Don't ignore it. That is not smart to ignore. I had a little issue the other day, something I was like, this is not so right. So I went and saw my GYN and we took care of it. So don't ignore things in your body. Invest. So at work, I have a few things before I stop this because 52 minutes. I've been the gift of gab. I do have that. In a work environment, talking about building resilience, research the best uh, outcome, the best possibilities in any situation. We talked about that. Okay. Realize what you can control and what you can't. Make a decision. Some people have the hardest time making a decision. Get all your facts together, talk to different people. Don't have one-sided of any issue. You know, that's why sometimes if you're a supervisor and you see something is not going right, you could say to your staff, what do you think? What do you think? Why should you be the only one making the decision? Sometimes, you know, they bring things you didn't think of. That's why it's good to be open-minded. And there's nothing wrong with saying, well, you know what? She came up with that suggestion. Give people credit. It's okay. It doesn't diminish you. Okay? Um, Make a choice. You have options. Be at your best at all times. And how you do that is by investing in yourself, learning all the time, and positioning yourself to be in the best marketable position. We just talked about that. Learn to be a team member. You can't be the one making all the decision. You're not the boss of everything. No. Be a team player. Listen to your team members. Ask for their input. And if their suggestion makes sense, do it. Implement it. Invest in your team. You know, it's easy to be a supervisor, but well, it's not. But don't think that you got to do everything yourself. Investing in your team means identifying your team members' strength and encourage it, then helping them with their weaknesses. So I used to say, when I was a supervisor, I never liked to do CNA scheduling because it's a headache. But on the day shift, they had like, I forgot what they called, a team lead or something, and she would do it. Like I would get there at 6:45 in the morning, schedule already done. And I'm like, yeah, because that's something I enjoy doing. But on 3 to 11, they didn't have a team lead. But then there were some people I identified that you could do it well. So I'm like, please, please do it. And it makes them feel good that you trust them to do something. You don't have to control everything. Allow people to grow. Give them an opportunity to develop their own leadership skill. Even if they're a CNA, they could still be a leader. Did you know that? Yeah. Invest in your team. And I have a class I call the 20 Habits of Highly Effective Nursing Supervisors. You should look at that. I think it is on YouTube. And certain things that you do repeatedly to build your team, to invest in your team, and it makes you a more effective supervisor. Be passionate about balance. Balancing means your life, work, pleasure, whatever else. Your life is not your work. You know, I watched a documentary yesterday about burnout, and it's not only nurses suffer burnout. Did you know that? Any position, any job, you could suffer burnout. You could experience burnout. Unfortunately, we live in a society that worships work. We what is that? We live to work, where our other communities work to live. That means they work just so that they can afford to live. No, we live to work, 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 work. And another something somebody said yesterday, it says work ethics in America means working beyond what is expected of you. So when somebody takes time off to recharge, we accuse them of having poor work ethics, as if work, the amount of work, is what defines you as being a successful worker. That is so wrong. And no wonder we all suffer burnout. You know, Europeans take 4 weeks off at a minimum every single year together, not a week here, 2 days there, chopped up. No, they go on holiday. They close their apartment because they don't believe that you have to have a house to be successful, go in debt for 30 years and paying 3 times the cost of your house so you can tell people, oh, I bought a house. I'm a homeowner. You are not a homeowner. You're a mortgage holder. There is a difference. But we've been sold this lie for so long, right? Be passionate about balance. Take your time off. You don't have to work yourself to the ground because you will die. I think give that example all the time. This guy wrote a beautiful book about business, and I love the principles of what he teaches. And then towards the end of the book, and they say he died of a heart attack sitting at his desk. Yeah. So I'm working hard so people can talk about me, and then I die of a heart attack at my desk. What a legacy. Expect change. The people who are successful in life are those who are able to accept change, roll with whatever happened, and move on. Keep it moving. Do the Kim. Keep it moving. Okay? You got to be able to, whatever happened, just keep it moving. If you expect change, you're not going to be blasted. And when it happens, you're like, oh, okay, take it all in, assess the situation. You know, that's how I roll in my head. Okay, all right. Don't be quick. Give yourself time to transition. Take it all in. Find the positive, what you can control, and what you can't control. And if you can live with the situation, fine. And if you can't, it's okay too, right? It's okay. Develop a work through mindset. Like I said, working through things. Consider all options. Don't leave anything to chance, right? Remember, nothing lasts forever. Oh my God, this is such a good word. COVID, inflation, nothing lasts forever. Time is a great equalizer, guys. Whatever you are going through, whatever you're feeling, it's gonna end. So if you keep that in mind, things will make it easier for you. Okay, it's already been an hour. I only have a few things. Embrace, practice positivity. We talked about that initially. Choose your job, choose your life. If a job doesn't fulfill you, it's okay to leave. As long as you feel like you've given it your best, don't feel trapped. Okay? Know your why. Know why you're doing what you're doing, whether it's in life, whether it's in your career. Know your why. All right, resilience, the last point. It's a dynamic process. You're always in the process of learning and growing. Okay, takeaway: open mindedness, flexibility, courage, know your why, and make a decision. Choose to be happy. Choose what you want. Okay? All right, so I think I've spoken for the whole hour this time. I didn't see any questions. I hope you guys enjoyed this live. You know, I'm just sharing with you guys. And I love that I see so many of you were watching today. I love you guys. God bless you. I love you. Au revoir. Mwah.